International Youth Day, as we know it, is part of a UN declaration on youth policies and programs. It came into being as far back as 1998. It is one of the youth programs that are aimed at mobilizing young people to take up their rightful place, take up their responsibilities in the development of the society, and also it provides an opportunity to draw attention to the challenges of these young persons, and also to recognize their achievements, appreciate and honor them. Sequel to this, in 1991, the United Nations General Assembly in its resolution endorsed the recommendation made by the World Conference of Ministers of Youth Development that the 12th of August each year be declared as the International Youth Day. As a way to promote better awareness, the Assembly also recommended that public information be organized all over the world to support the day as a world program for action on youth. The United Nations has developed a framework approach highlighting 3 key objectives to guide the celebration of this International Youth Day. They are as follows: 1, increase commitment and investment in youth; 2, increase youth participation and partnership; and 3, increase intercultural understanding among young people. Based on these 3 objectives, Nigeria and nations all over the world widened these celebrations to cover it 7 days. It is supposed to be a 7 days program of activities. What we are having today is kind of, heralding the main activities that will follow, that will form part of the larger celebration of the International Youth Day. As you may be aware, the theme for this year's celebration, as proposed by the United Nations, is what? Youth migration, moving development forward. I don't think they could have chosen a better theme, knowing fully well, that when you talk of migration, movement from one continent to another, one region to another, nation to another, city to another, you have mostly our young people. So, like I said, my honorable minister will, as he comes to talk to you, will unveil whatever plans we have for a larger celebration. You are welcome. Please enjoy yourself. The High Commissioner of the Honorable Minister, I have just been notified that the Speaker of the...
On this International Youth Day 2013, today we have the largest generation of young people the world has ever seen, with more than 40% of the world's population under the age of 25. With their dynamism and imagination, young people can transform the social and economic fortunes of developed and developing countries alike. With more than 12% of all 15 to 24-year-olds migrating across borders today, this year's International Youth Day focuses on how young migrants move development forward. The face of migration today is a feminine face and is a young person's face. Young migrants typically see leaving their homes as a chance for new opportunities, greater freedom from traditions and norms, and the possibility of affirming their own identities. Through migration, adolescents and young people contribute significantly to both their countries of origin and their destinations, and their potential to build social, economic, cultural bridges of cooperation and understanding across societies, which we consider to be immense. However, the journey may be strewn with risks, hardships, and disappointments, and young migrants can find themselves in vulnerable situations in an unfamiliar environment, lacking social supports. Some end up dropping out of school or do not have access to health and social services because of high costs or language or cultural barriers. Others may be afraid to seek health care information and services because of fear of deportation. Of particular concern are young women and girls who are exposed to gender-based violence, fall prey to traffickers, or are forced into child marriage, unwanted pregnancy, and other forms of exploitation. In order to achieve their full potential and contribute to social and economic development, young migrants need access to education, decent work, and health services, including reproductive health services. UNFPA, as co-chair of the United Nations International Agency Network on Youth Development, works with all partners to find innovative ways to assist countries in securing the health, development, and human rights of young people, including young migrants. The network has developed a bold action plan to work with and for young people and has called for increased investments in young people. This is a moral obligation and a social, economic, and political necessity. We are committed to delivering a world where every young person's potential is fulfilled and where their human rights are respected and their diversity is celebrated. Despite their numbers, young migrants are largely invisible in debates and policies on international migration. To maximize the potential developmental benefits of migration, it is essential to include youth in the migration and development discourse. Your Excellency, with our collective efforts and resources, including those of young people and migrants themselves, we can create a just and healthy life for all young people and generations to come. Thank you for your kind attention.
All attendee of youth here, Ambassador Marvin Jobana. And with that,
in which many more people migrate more than ever in human history, young migrants between 15 and 24 have become powerful agents of change and development. Young migrants, either alone or accompanied by family members, leave their homes for different reasons. Some live in search of jobs, others to flee persecution. On the International Youth Day 2013, which has its theme, Youth Migration, Moving Development Forward, IOM highlights the importance of engaging, enabling, and empowering youth to fulfill their developmental potentials. Migration continues to be the greatest poverty reduction strategy, presenting both challenges and opportunities for young people today. As the number of young people migrating through regular and irregular channels has risen, safe and regular migration must be promoted to reduce the risk of exploitation and abuse. Sharing information on migration options is essential because it increases awareness and enables young people to make well-informed decisions. IOM promotes regular migration and positive alternatives among young people by raising awareness of the dangers of irregular migration and has launched a comprehensive information campaign on varied risks associated with irregular migration and organizes job fairs at both national and local levels. In Nigeria, IOM supports government agencies, ministries, and parastatals to fashion and elaborate migration policy frameworks such as the National Migration Policy and Labor Migration Policy, as well as managing data related to migration in Nigeria. Engaging youth and including youth in migration debates and policy formation is essential to enhance development, as young migrants need to be given opportunities to participate, to express themselves, to be listened to, and to have their needs and interests taken into account. IOM has worked with other partners in Europe and across the world to promote public online training platform for youth, and we continue to work with the government of Nigeria and in other aspects of migration management in the hope that better management of migration will be ultimately beneficial to the countries of origin, of destination, and the families of the young people that migrate. We felicitate with the government of Nigeria on this day, on the occasion of the 2013 Youth Day, and we call on all partners, all hands to be on deck as we continue to work for the greater good development of our young people in Nigeria today and the Nigerian nation at large. Long live the government of Nigeria. Long live International Organization for Nigeria. We thank you.
That will now take us to the goodwill.
Inuwa Abdul-Kadir, Permanent Secretary, represented by Director of Social Mobilization, the representative of the United Nations Development Fund, the Director General National Youth Service Corps, the National Commander of Man O War, representative of the World Assembly of Youth, of Marvin Yobana, the President of the Youth Can, President of the Muslim Society of Nigeria, I can see them seated, every other protocol duly observed. Build the youth.
Build the nation.
Build the youth.
Build the nation.
Well, this is my simple address to the youth of Nigeria, Africa, and the world. To mark this day, 2013 International Youth Day. Fellow Nigerian youth and comrades, it is indeed an honor and great privilege to collectively celebrate this auspicious day as we mark the International Youth Day across the globe. It is important to emphasize and categorically express our highest appreciation to Almighty God for keeping us safe and for strengthening us in our journey towards greater success. Accordingly, I wish to use the opportunity to sincerely thank Mr. President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Dr. Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, the Honorable Minister of Youth Development, Inuwa Abdul-Kadir, the leadership and members of the National Assembly, state governors, head of missions in Nigeria, for their contribution in one or other way, making sure that Nigerian youth are encouraged and mainstreamed in the administration of policies and programs as a way of enhancing greater participation in governance. I must also, on behalf of the Nigerian youth, thank the United Nations, the African Union, the Economic Committee of West African States, the Commonwealth Secretariat, for setting aside not just 12th of August, but every year, but the whole month of August for young people, which is a high mark of regard for the place and roles of the largest demographic strength of any nation. Of course, cultivating is the timely and vitally relevant theme of this year's celebration, youth migration, moving development forward. Not forgetting the effort of our development partners, donor agencies, institutions, philanthropists, and the private sector. For many ways, they have shown support to the issue that border on youth development. I must not forget the sacrifice of the past and present leaders of the National Youth Council of Nigeria, different voluntary organizations, and many non-governmental organizations operating in the country. Of a truth, your genuine contribution and sacrifice cannot be forgotten in a hurry. As we celebrate this day, Youth Day, week and month, I must remind all African leaders and other governors across the globe about the many challenges that confront young people in their struggle for survival and relevance. Staring us in the face are the long-edged problem of illiteracy, unemployment, poverty, lack of social security, social, economic, and political exclusion, and discrimination, poor mentoring and capacity building, etc., etc. These adinos have created mountainous problems and Herculean tasks that today turn to demystify the institution of leadership and followership across the nation. Therefore, Honorable Minister, in line with this year's theme, youth migration, I must state here that there is every need to drastically, purposefully, and strategically deviate from the status quo to more robust, fruitful and promising opportunities and future for youth development in Nigeria. Sir, it is essential and critical to note that the surest way to drive a sustainable socio-economic development of any nation is to enhance greater participation of youth in governance, policy formulation and implementation. Fellow Nigerian youth, in about 365 days from now, 12th of August 2014, we will be gathering again to mark this special day of the youth by grace of God. Accordingly, on the 28th of the same August 2014, youth leaders across the nation and in diaspora will be jointly celebrated the 50th anniversary of the National Youth Council of Nigeria. Hence, we wish to reiterate the resolve and commitment of the present leadership, led by me, of the Council, in partnership with relevant institutions and agencies, to relentlessly pursue very pragmatic and proactive agenda and approaches in delivering sound and uncompromising services to Nigerian youth and dedicatedly transform the youth constituency for a better tomorrow. I must at this point, sir, unreservedly appreciate all young Nigerians at home and in the diaspora who have in very many ways shown immense contribution towards promoting peace, security, unity, integrity of this great nation. I salute your courage, uncommon sacrifice, and unbroken faith, and loyalty and patriotism to the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Once again, and indeed across the globe, a happy and fruitful celebration. May God's peace be with you. Thank you very much. But before I sit down, I want to make a significant presentation to the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic. We are what? Nigerian. For the unity of this country, this is my gift to the Federal Republic of Nigeria, able-led by Dr. Goodluck Jonathan. Every Nigerian home should put this flag in his house. Honorable Minister, sir, the National Youth Council of Nigeria, under my leadership, use this opportunity of the International Youth Day to present this flag, to forward it to Mr. President and tell him to keep the country flag. Thank you very much.
Leaders of the youth-led organizations and youth-focused organizations that are here with us. So many numerous young people, particularly the youth corps members of the Girls Brigade, I think, Boy Scouts, etc., etc. Before I deliver my message, I request all of us to kindly observe a minute silence in memory of our beloved young people, 14 members of the Boys and Girls Brigade. They were killed a fortnight ago in a very ghastly motor accident in Jos, Plateau State. May we please rise to observe the minute silence. May their soul rest in perfect peace. Amen. Gentlemen of the press, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I am delighted to welcome you to all this important occasion. That is the occasion which we observe every other year, particularly the 12th of August 2013, which herald the activities lying up for the celebration of the 2013 International Youth Day. The theme of the 2013 International Youth Day is Youth Migration, Moving Development Forward. This theme is very apt to the exigencies of the moment, where our world has become a global village, with young people moving to its nook and crannies. The theme Youth Migration, Moving Development Forward reflects the United Nations General Assembly's appreciation of the struggle and the role of young people to express and play in the socio-economic and political element of states, that's member states, nations, and continents of residence. We are very much aware of the large number of Nigerian youth contributing significantly to the health sector and the general economies of Europe and America. Back home here, Nigeria has benefited tremendously from the internal movement of young people across the 6 geopolitical zones of the country. This testifies to the fact that in Nigeria, like the rest of the world, the youth constitute the driving force of the society, the spirit of today, the trustees of tomorrow, as well as the hope of the future. Through their collective and creative talents and labor power, a nation makes progressive and giant strides in economic development and political attainments. In their dreams and hope, a nation finds motivation. On their energies, the nation builds her vitality and purpose. And for their aspiration, the future of a nation is assured. A visionary society must therefore constantly invest on the future of its youth, in whose hands the future and indeed the present lies. It is in recognition of this fact that in 1999, the United Nations General Assembly, in its resolution 54/120, endorsed recommendation made by the World Conference of Ministers of Youth Development that 12th of August be declared International Youth Day. The Assembly further recommended that public information activities be organized all over the world to support the day as a way of promoting better awareness of the World Program of Action for Youth. In other words, the International Youth Day constitutes part of the United Nations broader World Program of Action for Youth, WPAY, an initiative targeted at promoting the general well-being and livelihood of young people with a priority focus on education, employment, poverty and hunger, the environment, drug abuse, juvenile delinquency, leisure time activities, health, girls and women, HIV/AIDS, information and communication technology, intergenerational issues, armed conflicts, the mixed impact of globalization, and the full and effective participation of the youth in socio-economic development and in decision-making process. To guide the celebrations of the 2013 International Youth Day, the United Nations, in addition to suggesting some activities for member nations to key into and adopt to suit their peculiar circumstances, also developed and handed down a kind of framework of highlighting 3 key objectives, which include to increase commitment and investment in youth, to increase youth participation and partnerships, to increase intercultural understanding among your people. Other objectives are to recognize and celebrate the contributions, achievements of young people to the development of their societies, to draw the world attention to the needs of and aspirations of youth. Traditionally, Nigeria, like many other United Nations member states, celebrate International Youth Day with a week-long activities culminating in the grand finale on the 12th of August, where Mr. President addresses Nigerian youth. This 2013 International Youth Day is very special to us, people of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, as it coincides with preparations for the centenary celebration of Nigeria as a nation. In line with this, the Federal Ministry of Youth Development is partnering with the Presidential Committee on Nigerian Centenary Celebration to come up with a deserving national celebration that will not only reflect the significance of the air-wide International Youth Day, but also to commemorate the Nigerians' 100 years of nationhood. The Ministry has written to all states of the Federation and the Federal Capital Territory to celebrate the Youth Day along with the theme to adopt the activities suggested by United Nations to suit their peculiar circumstances in the states. At national levels, today's event is significant in the sense that it marks International Youth Day and at the same time heralding the glory of activities lined up for the bigger events that will follow. This occasion we are witnessing today cannot be complete without the reasons for the migration of young people, which are many to mention. Some migrate to flee persecution, others escape economic hardship, some are alone, others are part of the family with parents, siblings, and even children of their own. Some have communities to go to, while others make few new connections in transit and at their final destinations. Many young migrants face equal or greater struggles, including racism, xenophobia, discrimination, and human rights violations. Young women in particular face the risk of sexual exploitation and abuse. Poverty, crowded on unsanitary living conditions, and the challenges of finding decent employment are regular features of young migration. Migrants have also been accused by their host communities of taking jobs from local, exposing them to further risk of discrimination. In other cases, young people left behind by migrating parents face psychological and social challenges and greater vulnerability. It is important to emphasize the positive contribution young migrants make to societies of origin, transit, and destination, economically and by enhancing the social and cultural fabric. Must work hard to earn a living and improve their circumstances. Back home in Nigeria, young people that migrated to one place or the other contribute to the development of the locality they live, and those in the diaspora have contributed economically and socially in our national development. Ladies and gentlemen, members of the press, please permit me to use this medium to assure Nigerian youth that in the next coming weeks, on the 23rd of August, we have a full visit accompanying fanfare. On this note, I wish Nigerian youth happy International Day celebration, and see you on the 23rd of August 2013 for more elaborate celebration. Thank you for coming.
crave your indulgence to state right from onset. Mine is not a question per se, but you may want to dovetail to be a question, it's a contribution. It is not against saying the fact that youth is the cornerstone and bedrock of the development of the nation. And I must say too that the Federal Ministry of Youth Development is doing a lot with respect to this. But the youth seems to be most susceptible and prone to abuse and all other forms of vices. And then there seems to be a missing link. And to address this missing link, I want to most humbly suggest and emphasize the need for a greater synergy and robust collaboration between the Federal Ministry of Youth Development and the Federal Ministry of Education, and of course other agencies of government whose mandate is or are critical to the development of youth. Just as also want to submit of extending similar initiative to the Parents Teachers Association, especially the parents, because they are a key stakeholder in development of the youth. What I'm saying is that if you are talking of an all-round development of the youth, it is no less important to bring in all necessary stakeholders so that together we can build the youth, develop them, and prepare them for the greater leadership responsibilities in future. I thank you very much.
The most vulnerable, so that this government will be seen with a human face. Actually, I'm not addressing this question towards you, but I want to use this medium so that you help us talk to Mr. President and we will know the feedback. Thank you.
Unemployment, and so to ask if the Ministry of Youth is partnering with the Amnesty Committee given to Boko Haram. Thank you.
Number 4. Unemployment generally, particularly of the young people, is of utmost concern, not only by the federal government of Nigeria, but to be fair to all other government level in the federation, from local government, state and individuals, organizations and communities. Why? Because no nation, no community can afford to just sit down and look at its young people doing nothing. In that regard, I will respond on behalf of the federal government. What we are doing is to create an atmosphere, a situation whereby young people grow up not looking for jobs, but with desire and aspiration to create jobs. That is the trend, and that is the reality all over the world, because no government can provide employment to all its young people, no matter how unpopulated that country is. We are, by our current statistics, about 170 million Nigerians. Over 60% are not employed or gainfully engaged. You see, the question of employment is not just the narrow thinking of an average Nigerian. When he talks about employment, he's talking about just somebody who have finished school, submitting his curriculum vitae, and getting an offer of appointment, and simply every month he has a salary. That's not the issue of employment. Employment is beyond that. And that's why our attention is more on creating an enabling environment for young people to create jobs for themselves. And if you look at, or rather if you examine the activities of federal government in this ministry and other related ministries, what we have been doing is to have an aggressive agricultural drive whereby we encourage young people to participate in order to take entrepreneurship in agriculture, because this is a wider area. This is a very potent and peaceable area, and an area that you cannot even exhaust. everybody can have a place in agriculture, from production to marketing of the produce. Of course, in between there will be processing, preservation, etc., etc. And this is a very sure banker, a sure and guaranteed means of economic development of any nation. When you have a robust agriculture with high output production, with high output in terms of entrepreneurship and the management of that integrated agricultural scheme, you will have a very good what they call the foreign reserve. I'm not an economist, but from the rudiments of my economics, I know that we won't even be facing any of these problems of seeking for debt reliefs for anything, because everybody will be coming to you and negotiating with you for so many economic activities. It is only through agriculture that you can have a sound, very sound economic pillars, because you will have a lot of raw materials that you give into those industries that will strive. In textile, for instance, our clothing needs, I think, will only be addressed when you produce more of cotton, which Nigeria is capable and have been capable and have been doing that. The only problem that we have relaxed. But I believe when we concentrate, for instance, in cotton production, I think there is no nation in the black world or in Africa, this is the minimum I would take, in Africa at least, even in Europe, that can produce more cotton, more qualitative cotton than Nigeria can. So when you have that kind of agricultural drive in that area of cotton, you are sure that you will have a number of textile industries that will operate, will provide so many employment opportunities, so many means of income for so many people, and it will enhance the economic potentials of this country and so many other areas in agricultural production. So that is our drive. We have started that. I can give you so many examples that what we do, we encourage the training of young people in agricultural entrepreneurship and encourage and also give some grants to them, the little we can, and also have encouraged so many state governments to do the same and local governments and various MDAs and government institutions at the federal level have been doing that. The NYSC is doing that. A number of young youth service corps members have gone through that process, and they are even given loans. And I will say and always say, I am proud that in the history of this country, they have shown a very good example because they are repaying those loans. The habit is that people don't repay their loans. Though these loans are interest-free, though little money we started with, the NYSC started with, but it is a promising thing if we inject more funds in that direction, not just by governments, but including private and non-governmental organizations and individuals. They can assist. In your community, an individual who is rich can assist 5-10 young people to do that. So that's the area of unemployment. This is not just restricted to agriculture, but other forms of entrepreneurship in skill work. Second question talk about, although it's a contribution about the synergy between the Federal Ministry of Youth Development and that of Education, which has been in existence. And maybe if you go to memory lane, that this ministry was once part of the Federal Ministry of Youth and Ministry of Education. But recently, just about a fortnight ago also, we launch in this ministry a new national framework on youth development, which will be the driving force, which will be the guide for youth development in so many areas of human endeavor. We have identified 18 thematic areas where we'll be collaborating with all concerned about youth development. In Ministry of Education, for instance, we make sure, and if you look critically, there's a serious improvement in the curriculum content of our schools, which makes the system, the curriculum, more to provide more functional education. We want, in the next few years, graduates to be coming out with functional education, not that will restrict them to when you study a particular degree, that you have no options than to be having to have a white collar job, but at degrees that makes you require you to face challenges that you can create a job. So these are areas of collaboration, and in not only with MDAs, but even with non-governmental organizations like yours. I think we started it, I think it was during this Ramadan, this NACOMIO and the Catholic Youth Organization organized a dialogue during the Ramadan in the National Mosque, which I attended, which was a very successful and fruitful program where Christian and Muslim leaders attended and have rubbed minds and have come out with a number of positions to pursue. So in those areas, the Federal Ministry of Youth Development will be partnering with such organizations in pursuit of having more vibrant young people, more purposeful and brighter future Nigeria. The lady that spoke about the state of emergency, but she said she's just using me as a courier to communicate same with Mr. President. But I just want to remind you, I'm a representative wherever I found myself. I'm a representative of the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. That's why I'm a minister. But I will just assure you that it's not a question of compensation. There's no amount of money that you can compensate those affected by the state of by the insurgency or the violence that occur in those states, or even the state of emergency that occur that was declared in those states, because I don't think there's any amount of money sufficient to compensate human life and a loss of income for so many people, loss of opportunities for so many people, even loss of our generation, and something that will become indelible in the history of those areas. But what is important is that the Federal Ministry of Youth Development, in collaboration with other national agencies, we are soon going to conduct a training program of reorientation and skill acquisition and entrepreneurship training for a number of young people. We'll be starting with 1,000 young people each in both, particularly Borno and Yobe State, to prepare these young people, to rehabilitate and reorient these young people from what they have been faced with in the last 2 or 3 years. Because what we are looking is more of what, because almost this crisis in these states is coming to an end, and we are looking more a vision of the post-crisis management of young people who are coming out of trauma, who are coming out of deprivation, etc., etc. So we will soon, God willing, within the period of the major celebration of this youth, International Youth Week, will come out with the details of what we have planned for those states. Then, of course, the issue of this Boko Haram committee, don't forget that this is a committee appointed by the federal government, and I think all concerns, people are relatively represented in that committee, and it's a committee that is expecting all Nigerians, irrespective of what their age is and where they are, to make a database of migrants. If the Federal Ministry of Youth Development has it. You see, gentlemen, what all of us should understand, the Federal Ministry of Youth Development has a particular mandate and focus on issues of youth development, which even as a policy ministry to make contribution to ensure that those organizations or institutions that were established purposely to address a particular situation, we make contribution, we ensure that there is youth inclusiveness in terms of policy, in terms of participation, and when also it comes to implementation. So we cannot be a government of our own to maintain or generate data, but we look at those activities of like the migration agencies, the Bureau for Statistics provide all this kind of data, which are very helpful, and many other organizations which will look at critically and look and see whether they are fair enough and where interests of the young people will be taken care of. And don't forget, we have so many organizations that takes care of that. And if we look at our own framework that we launched last 2 weeks, I think it provides a platform for such kind of partnership. But what we have done, which was never done in the history of this country, is that we have started a survey. We are conducting a survey since last year on youth index to see in so many areas what is the position of the youth, what those governments, what organizations, what parents, what every one of us is doing about young people, whether you are doing well in health, whether you are doing good in education, whether you are doing excellently in ICT, whether you have good programs for young people in agriculture, whether you have good planning for young people in the next 20 years or so, whether what will be the position of young people by 2020, what will be the position, what the transformation agenda that is being implemented by this administration is doing for young people. So we'll continue to conduct this survey, which will provide us with good statistics and reasonable statistics also to have a good peer review and improve upon from time to time. Then the last segment of the question of the last person that asked question about the National Youth Council of Nigeria. As far as the Federal Ministry of Youth Development is concerned, there is no crisis in the National Youth Council of Nigeria. A number of times explained this, and will not be tired of explaining this because it's a transitional thing. Before now, what used to happen is that the National Youth Council of Nigeria is being dominated and being led by old people, not young people. So there are a number of them who have exceeded the age requirement for youth-led organizations. You can have any youth organization, folks. I, an old man here, can form an organization and call it youth organization, and I can be the president, I can be the secretary general, or etc. And we'll be doing youth abide. They will not listen to you. You don't know to recognize you as the youth leader. So also the Commonwealth. But we in Africa, for our own purpose, we said 18 to 35. So I don't think if we are talking about a 2035, then we'll condone a situation whereby we have somebody who is 45 or who is 50 years to call himself a member of the executive of the National Youth Council of Nigeria. What we did and we began is a very Herculean task on the part of us as policy makers, as policy implementers, to ensure that there is compliance by people who wants to participate, who wants leadership in the NYC. Many of them ask for waiver. That is the crisis, if there is any, that we said, and I said it there in this ministry a number of times. I had meetings with them. We wrote letters to the state governments and to ask them to ensure compliance, that it's not acceptable to us, but anybody can go in exercise of this constitutional rights to form an association and call it by any other name, by mentioning it as a youth organization, and have its own leadership. But as far as the Federal Ministry of Youth is concerned, it must comply with national youth policy, the youth policy of the United Nations and other credible international organizations where Nigeria is a member, where Nigeria has commitment. Now we can only recognize and speak with people, with young people that are within the age of 18 to 35 maximum. So there were persistency, there were a lot of things, blackmail, etc. But that did not deter us from not accepting any waiver. So this is what the leadership of the NYCM decided at that time. They had their congress in Makurdi and elected the new leadership, which is within that age bracket. It's a continuous reform. I would like to also, especially the journalists, to inquire. Before now, in so many states, elections are not even held for NYCM. Elections were not even held, but this time around we insist that there must be elections. Some regard them as an appointment. Of course, even the United Nations and Congress are battling with some countries who are yet to ensure that youth leaders are elected. But because we are in democracy, we believe in democracy, so certainly we insist there must be elections. So I'm not surprised if somebody has is not happy with the change. It's normal for human beings to resist change, and change is inevitable because it's the most constant denominator of human activities. So, as far as I'm concerned, there's something like that, and that's why we have Commander Uwish and them now as the president of NYC. So I think more particularly, I hope that answered or respond to the questions, and if there are more questions, especially we can allow some few questions from the journalists, if any.
Exception today, but I'll try my best to remember most of those who contributed to the success of this, and that is why I said it's easy, because it's easy to forget, but difficult to remember. However, I will start by, first of all, permit me to thank God Almighty for bringing this event to a successful end. And secondly, I would also want to thank, of course, the Honorable Minister for all the support, all the effort he has put in, not just into this event, but many other events, to see that it becomes a success. We at the NSM, Network and Social Mobilization Department, knows very well how far the Honorable Minister has gone extra length to make sure this becomes a success. Thank you very much, sir. We also extend same thanks to our Permanent Secretary for assisting the Minister to assist us succeed in this program. There are many of our supporters, partners, development partners that had also made this a success, and we want to remember them and thank them for their effort. First on our list is, of course, the NFPA, our foremost partners since the establishment of the ministry. We also thank the UNDP and the other UN system sisters and brothers in trying to support or providing support, not just for this department, but for the ministry as a whole. We also remember the VYOs who have taken their time in many occasions to visit our programs and make it a success. Our young and upcoming parliamentarians, National Youth Parliament of Nigeria, and of course their umbrella body, the NYCN, for always attending our programs. You are in fact part of the youth ministry, and you have lived up to that. And as a new body coming on board, the new executive, we look forward to, of course, the tradition of your usual support. And for other VYOs who have also found time to come, some of you got our invitations very late, but you still oblige and honor our invitation. We thank you very much. May God, in His mercy, take us back safely to all our places. Thank you, and may God bless.